Well, good day, everybody. So here we are, starting on our third week. And as we start on our third week, we finish off with Job. And I thank you for just hanging in there. Hopefully, you didn't set it aside and come join us when we started up after Job, because there's been a lot of very valuable lessons that we've taken from this, and we really, as we head into Abraham, we have a good understanding of the culture of the time, a good understanding of what they knew and didn't know of the Creator. So let's just finish off this last section of Job today, then, and take away some of the things that we can learn here. So there's the last of the disclaimer, and let's just again refresh ourselves on what's going on. Job, or the Creator, is now responding to Job. Remember, Job had thrown some accusations at God. He had put some questions forward and said he wanted his day in court and so on. And so here, God is giving, um, is responding to him. And when Job is given the opportunity to speak, Job kind of puts his hand over his mouth and says that I was wrong. Like, I've got nothing to say. So here, I want you to understand, though. Um, it, some people have said that it comes across that God is bullying Job, um, but we need a constant perspective so that we don't leave the place of humility. That we have to walk humbly before our God. We can't get too big for our britches. That's what they did at Babel. If you remember what happened there, they were going to make a name for themselves, and our life is not about making a name for ourselves. Our life is about enjoying our Father, enjoying this family that we belong to, taking our value from Him, taking our worth from Him, uh, and carrying on with the family mission, which is a rescue mission. It's a restoration mission. It's a reconciliation mission. That's what we're involved with. So here, he is giving Job some perspective. Now, I had a friend with his family served in South Africa, served the Lord, and it was not an easy thing. That is a messed up country that has a lot of issues that they have to work through. And when it would become overwhelming for him, he would climb up on this mountain they called Tabletop Mountain. It's next to another mountain called Lion's Head. I had an opportunity to climb Lion's Head, but not Tabletop. And he would go up so far on Tabletop, on a section where he could look over his neighborhood, over that section of the city. And he would look for his house. He would find his house. And from that perspective, from that vantage point, everything looks so small. His house looks so small. It gave him a bigger perspective of things. And as he sat there, he realized that his problems in the scheme of things were really tiny. And when he came down off that mountain, it was with an understanding that God is bigger than anything that he's facing. And and it would just give him a boldness and a courage, um, to press on. And so this is what we're finding. God is giving Job here this opportunity, and so we find here in verses 2 to 5 of chapter 40. Will the one who disputes with the Almighty correct him? God's instructor must answer him. Job responded to the Lord, "Look, I'm of little worth. What can I answer you? I'll put my hand over my mouth. I have spoken once, I won't answer. Twice, I won't do it again." So he has been humbled, and he needs to be, and it's not in a mean way. You got to understand, this is for his benefit. This is for his benefit, because he couldn't lead the life that God had designed him for him to lead unless he understood the relationship he had with the Creator. So he uses a couple of beasts in in his creation, to really help Job understand the Behemoth and the Leviathan. And I'm not going to get into the speculation of what these beasts are, but here they are, and Job was living during the time of these animals, and and he has here when he's describing the Leviathan, it's a huge description of both of these animals, and the Leviathan sounds really interesting. It almost sounds like a fire-breathing dragon to me. You know, not everything is fossilized. Fossils aren't a given. Yeah, and fossils don't tell the whole story. We have to be careful with science. Science is really wonderful, but science has yet well, it can't go back in time. Science can't go back in time. Science can speculate on the clues that have been left behind, but that's not a complete picture. We can't know the complete picture. Maybe as we enter into glory, but I'm not even sure we will be interested when we stand in God's presence for the complete story. But there are just some things of the past that are a mystery, and we can't guess at filling in the blanks. And we have to understand the crumbs that have left to us aren't complete. They're just crumbs. They're just pieces. So there may not be any evidence at all of the Behemoth and the Leviathan left on this planet. But the Leviathan really sounds like an interesting creature. The Behemoth is a herbivore. So I'm sure it was not vicious unless attacked, but the Leviathan sounds like a killing machines to me. Wow. Yeah. So and so here's the Lord speaking to Job, and he says, "Nobody is fierce enough to rouse him. Who then can stand before me?" You know, after describing some of the first part of his description, because he goes on afterwards, but the first, he says, there's nobody on the planet that's fierce enough to rouse him. So if you can't stand before him, Job, if you can't stand before this creature that I have created, then what makes you think that you can oppose me? You know, who opposes me that I must reply? Like, I don't I don't owe you anything, Job. I don't owe you a response. But this is where he is. Like, if I decide to give you a response, that's by grace that I'm responding to you. But I don't owe that to you. So everything under heaven, um, yeah, everything under heaven is mine. I'm not awed by his limbs, his strength, and impressive form. Nah, like I created him. Like he belongs to me. I'm not impressed by him. I'm not. That kind of puts things in perspective. Job, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by you. I'm not afraid of you. I don't have to answer to you. Is really what he's saying to him. So if we look at chapter 42, verses 2 to 3, um, what we find is this revelation of things. I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay. This revelation of things um, brings about a repentance from Job. Yeah, if you read this whole thing from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6, uh, you see that this is a place where Job is really just bound before the Lord, it, and and he says to him, I know you can do anything. No plan of yours can be opposed successfully. You said, who is this darkening counsel without knowledge? I've indeed spoken about things I didn't understand. Wonders beyond my comprehension. And if we're honest, when we go before God, when we go before our Father, this is a position that we need to take. Like I only understand part of it, Dad. I only understand my end of it, and sometimes I don't even know if I truly understand my end of things. I don't really truly know if I have understanding of myself. I don't know if I can even understand my own perspective. So I'm like, yeah, and there's we need to understand this when we're having discussions with people, when we're talking to people, when we're approaching people, is that we can't put people in these little boxes, and we can't pigeonhole People, we can't assume, we can't make assumptions. Maybe we can understand part of the story, but it doesn't mean we understand all of the story. And it doesn't matter, because the only thing that we really need to understand is that our Father forgives them, and He loves them, and He wants them returned to Him. That's the big thing. We don't need to understand everything. We don't need to understand their motivations for things. We just need to know the truth of who our Father is. And when we're in that position, we will work with people in humility, and we will not judge their story, and we just speak truth. Just speak truth to the situation, that our Father provides healing for everybody, everybody, without exception. And the only great sin that cannot be forgiven is the sin of rejecting the Holy Spirit, of rejecting the Spirit when He convicts us of our need for salvation. So, in verse 5 of 42, and I really pray that this would be our desire. This would be our prayer as we do this together, as we move through this together. Let this be our prayer and our desire, because I really hope it is. Um, my ears had heard about you, but now my eyes have seen you. See, but we want to go even more than that, Job. We want to go further than that. We want to take advantage of this relationship of intimacy that we have been called to. We have heard about you. We've heard from our parents. We've heard from preachers. We've heard from neighbors. We've heard from friends and coworkers. We've heard about you. Um, Now I've seen you. I've seen you in nature around me. I've seen you in miracles. I've seen you in answered prayer. I've seen you in the whispers in the night. I've heard my name upon your lips. It's amazing. But even more, you've called me to intimacy. And see, as we work through the word, he's going to reveal more and more. I'm telling you, as we work through this together, he's going to reveal more of himself to you. But it's an invitation to go through even further, to go even deeper, to go into even more than that. So let this be your prayer, but add to it. My ears had heard about you, but now my eyes have seen you, and I desire intimacy with you. So in verse 7, then we're just going to go bang 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 with this. There's this amazing part here, where the Lord is bringing correction to Job's comforters, to his friends. He hasn't left out the friends here. And look what he says to them. He says, after the Lord had spoken these words to Job, he said to Eliphaz from Teman, I'm angry at you and your two friends, because you haven't spoken about me correctly, as did my servant Job. So, yeah, the things that they were applying to Job in that situation weren't right. And Job's only problem was his accusation against God. Um, his accusation that he wasn't being treated justly or fairly. But the other things, the theology, what he understood of the Creator, was correct, but what his friends were bringing forward were not correct. Yeah, and so here he's bringing them correction, and so he says in verse 8, um, what he does here. He doesn't leave them off. See, he it doesn't. He just loves everybody. He really did. That's what we have to get from this. He didn't forget the friends. He didn't restore Job and forget the friends. He restores everybody. He says here, so now take 7 bulls and 7 rams. Go to my servant Job and prepare an entirely burned offering for yourselves. Job, my servant, will pray for you, and I will act favorably by not making fools of you, because you didn't speak correctly, as did my servant Job. Now, look what he's done. This is who Job was. Remember, Job was the intercessor. Job interceded all the time. Job always prayed. Job made sacrifices for his children all the time. Remember that? And I'm sure he did for other people. This is just who he is. And so, what is part of his restoration back to this relationship with Father is well, who we know as Father, but who he knows as Creator, is is getting him back to his calling, getting him back um, to his attitude, getting back. He's restoring him to that place of intercessor. Yeah. So so they did it. They did it, and look what resulted from it. Eliphaz from Teman, Bildad from Shua, and Zophar from David did what the Lord told them. Good for them. And the Lord acted favorably toward Job. Yeah, I think that the Lord acted favorably towards them because they did what they said, but he acted favorably toward Job. This is part of Job's restoration because Job was willing to get back to where he was supposed to be because Job was willing to take up that responsibility, almost like a priest, take up that responsibility of praying for his friends. He acted favorably toward Job. But I want you to understand this isn't Job who now earns the favor of the Lord. It's not that whatsoever. It's the Lord wants to favor all of us. He wants to pour favor and blessing out on all of us to different degrees, but he wants to pour it out upon all of us. But we have to be in that position of righteousness. We have to be in that position of rightness. We have to be in that position of obedience. We have to be in that place of submission. And then he can act favorably toward us. Then the Lord changed Job's fortune. See, right there. Then the Lord changed Job's fortune when, underline it, circle it, asterisk, when he prayed for his friends. And the Lord doubled all Job's earlier possessions. It's a matter of moving him back into that environment of favor. He opened the door. Job walked through it. Job could have said no. Job could have walked in disobedience. Job could have been stayed in that bitterness. Job could have been there. But what the Lord did was give Job the proper perspective. So the bitterness was gone when Job realized that the bitterness was a wrong thing for him to have, and he let it go. And the Lord opened that door, gave him an opportunity for restoration, and Job responded. And then the favor of the Lord could be there to bring Job back to where he wanted him to be. This is a big lesson for us right here. Okay, so look at verse 11 here. What do we find? We find right away. I mean, the first thing, what happens? It's not the possessions that get restored. It's the relationships that get restored. All his brothers, sisters, acquaintances came to him and ate food with him in his house. That's important. You breaking of the bread was so important. There was a restoration of fellowship right there. They comforted and consoled him concerning the disaster the Lord had brought on him, and each one gave him a quista. That's a monetary term at that time. Gave him a quista and a gold ring. So everybody was giving him something for him to invest. They were giving him something to invest with. Just because Job is a fantastic businessman, but the favor of the Lord rested upon him. So they were giving him seed. They were giving him the seed for Job now to use this favor to see his fortune his fortune restored to him. And then we see after that in verse 12, then the Lord blessed Job's latter days more than his former days. So see, Job didn't earn any of this. Job didn't trust the Lord. Job accused the Lord of so much. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. He didn't stand up in this relationship at all. But look what happens now. Look what happens. Just because Job failed doesn't mean the Lord's going to fail. Just because we fail doesn't mean the Lord is going to fail in his love. This is a lesson. Maybe it's one of the biggest lessons we should take from Job, is that the Lord did not turn around and punish Job because Job failed. He taught Job. He brought Job back to that place of restoration. And then he poured out his favor on him because Job was willing to be restored. Job was willing to submit and humble himself before the Lord. It's just amazing. He had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. But the greater wealth was yet to come. Verse 13. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And then we get some detail about names and stuff. But we skip over that and look at the favor. I mean, this is pure favor, people. This is pure favor. I pray that I will receive favor like this. Look at this. After this, Job lived 140 years. It's not about the length of years. It's this, and saw 4 generations of his children. His children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. And there are people who get that. But how many people get to see their great-grandchildren? Isn't that amazing? It's just incredible. That short period, Job could have given up. He could have cursed God and died. He could have killed himself. He could have just ended it all right there. But look at what he would have missed out on. Forget all the cattle and ox and camels, all that sort of stuff. Look at this. He saw 4 generations of his children. That's amazing. Then Job died old and satisfied. That is the goodness of God. And Job received it because he was restored in relationship with him. It's not because of any great feats of Job. It's because he was restored in relationship with the Creator. And the Creator, because Job was willing to love him, Job was willing to be humble before him, Job received this favor. That's just amazing. That's just amazing. And that makes Job well worth reading through as you get to the end there, and all the things that we went through and had to put up with, and the repetitiveness of it sometimes, to come away with this understanding. Now, this is what you've been called into. This, just when the Lord humbles you, be humbled. Walk in humility and understand that it is for our betterment. This is come on, this is some of the best theology that you can take from this. There's a lot of stuff we learned about the Creator, but listen to this. He wants to favor us. He wants to bless us. He just wants us to be in that right relationship with him, a relationship which requires humility as we trust him, as we choose to trust him and not doubt him. Yeah, so thanks for journeying through Job with me, and tomorrow we're going to take up Abraham. So you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. I am blessed by you walking through this with me, and yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow.